Hi everyone, welcome to my channel Ellumacent Art. Hope you're having a great day. So in this video I'm going to be showing you how to play my homemade trading card game Ellumacent Souls Legends. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is the field placement and where things go, because that's obviously important. So the first thing right here is your deck. That's where your decks go face down. Underneath you've got the realm of balance. That's where cards go beaten in battle, removed from play or discarded. You've got your mana zone. That's where you put your cards that you want to turn into mana, so you can generate mana to summon cards to your field to protect your life. You've got 4 placements at the top for your grounded units and 4 underneath for your ranged units. For me, for this placement, I've also got an area to put my die, which is my D6 die right here. That's the only dice you need for the game, is 1 D6 die. I like to put it there so it's out of the way of the cards. And the next thing you need is something that you can do to keep an eye and track your life as you play the game. So I like to use a 20-sided die because you get 20 life to start the game. You can max out throughout the gameplay if you've got the cards to boost your health to 40, but both players at the start of the game only have 20 life. So all I usually do is just put another 20-sided die with mine to have 2 20-sided die to make 40. But as I say, for the purpose of this video, each player starts off with 20 life. However, how you record it is down to you. You can use pen and paper, a calculator, but I like to use a 20-sided die because it's easier to go up and down on the numbers as I go through the game. So the next important thing is going to be the decks. So the deck rules are pretty simple. There's only really 2. There's a maximum cards of 40 in a deck, so there's 40 cards you're allowed in a deck, and you can have up to 4 of the same card in your deck as well. So like 4, I've got 4 whites right there, so you can have 4 of the same card in your deck, and the maximum card is 40. So all you do to start the game is both players then shuffle their decks and put them face down in the deck field placement, which is right here. Then both players then draw 4 cards from their deck, and you're both ready to go. So all you need to do now is decide on who gets to go first. So you could roll a dice, whoever gets the highest number goes first, or you could do rock, paper, scissors, whatever's easiest for you guys. But for the purpose of this video, I'm going to go first for my first turn playing a game. So we enter the first phase of the turn, which is the main phase, which is you just draw 1 card from your deck to your hand. And now we enter the mana tribute phase, because you're going to need to put cards into your mana zone to regenerate mana to summon cards to your field. Now for both players, first turns playing a game, it's mandatory to put 1 or 2 cards into your mana zone, because you're going to need a line of defense to protect your life, so you're going to need cards to summon. So the blue crystal right at the top tells you how much a card is worth when you want to turn it into mana. The red crystal tells you how much a card needs mana wise to be able to be summoned to the field. So Jacob is worth 3 mana and would need 3 mana to be summoned. Pamela is worth 4 mana and would need 6 mana to be summoned. Jennifer is worth 2 mana and would require 1 mana to be summoned. So I now need to pick the amount of cards I want to put into my mana zone to summon cards. So I'm going to go with one of the Jacobs because I've got 2. So I tribute Jacob, which will give me 3 mana from the blue crystal. And I'm also going to tribute my Leia, which is worth 6. So that's my 2 cards that I can tribute. That's giving me 9 mana. So that's my maximum amount of cards I can put into my mana zone. So I've now got 9 mana I can spend. So we can do... I'm going to spend 3 mana, which leaves me 6 to summon Jacob. And he's grounded, so he goes into the grounded area on the field. And I use the last 6 to summon Pamela, who's also a grounded unit. So the other thing about Pamela is some cards will have bonus abilities, bonus effects, and bonus skills that activate on their summon, like Pamela here. So hers would be bonus ability: whilst this card is on your field, all your Juveline units deal double power level damage. So say my next turn I was able to summon a Juveline type card. With Pamela on my field, that effect lasts until Pamela is removed, but with Pamela on the field, that Juveline would get a boost straight away. So look out for bonus effect skills, effects and abilities, because they activate on the card summon. Some last for the duration of that card on the field, some are temporary and some only get used once, but they're a good way to start your strategy to beat your opponent. So that's my 2 cards summoned. Next we go to the main phase, which is the main die phase. So this is where you roll for your cards. So each card gets 1 die roll each. There is effects and abilities that can give cards more dice rolls, but I don't have any on the field right now. So Jacob will get 1 dice roll, and then Pamela will get 1 dice roll. So I roll for Jacob, which is a 2. So if we have a look at what 2 is, so 1 to 3 is attack, 4 to 5 draw a card, 6 discard a card. Because this is a 2, it falls into the attack category. So 1 to 3 would be attack with the 2. So because my opponent hasn't got any cards to protect them, because it's the start of the game and I'm going first, I now do a direct hit with Jacob to my opponent's life with the roll of 2. And the damage works out with the power level of a card. So power level of a card is this yellow crystal here. That's the strength of the card. So Jacob will do 3 damage to my opponent's life, leaving them 17 life. So I've rolled for Jacob. Now I roll for Pamela, which is a 4. And 4 for Pamela is 4 to 5 draw a card. So I draw a card from my deck to my hand. And now I've rolled for both of them. And now that I've rolled for both my cards, I enter the end phase of my turn. So I just rotate the cards I've used and reset my mana to 0, and now pass to my opponent so they can take their first turn playing the game. And once they've taken their turn, they'll pass back to me so I can take my second turn. So to start my new turn, all I need to do now is rotate my cards back and enter the main phase of my turn, which is to draw 1 card from my deck to my hand. And now we enter the tribute phase, which is if I want to put a card into the mana zone to summon any more cards. So again, the limit is 1 to 2 cards you can put into your mana zone. I'm going to put Connor into my mana zone to give me 5 mana, which gives me enough to summon both these Jennifers because they only require 1 each, which would leave 3 mana left over. Both of them are grounded units, so they go into the grounded field placement. So that's my grounded field placement now full up. So now I roll for Jacob, which is a 4, which is 4 to 5 draw a card. Then I roll for Pamela, which is a 1, so that is an attack. So because it's my opponent should have been able to summon cards to defend them this time, I'm now going to, for the purpose of this video, show you how damage works to an opponent's card and how to beat an opponent card. So let's say my opponent had a Katrina on their field and their power level was 2. Well, my Pamela's power level is 5, which is a lot stronger than their Katrina. So the difference in the 2 would be 3. Which would come off Katrina's HP because she's the weaker card. But because Katrina has 2 HP, which is the green crystal here, she would lose because of the big gap in the power level. So because it was a 3 to a 2, Katrina loses the battle, goes into my opponent's realm of balance and is removed from the field. So now I roll for Jennifer, which is a 2. And 2 for Jennifer is 1 to 3, which is attack, so it's attack again. So same thing, if they've had like a Wyatt on their field, I can now attack their Wyatt. So again, same thing, power level of Jennifer is 3 from her yellow crystal to Wyatt of 2. So Jennifer's power level is 3, Wyatt's is 2, so the difference is 1. So Wyatt would have 1 damage done to his HP, leaving him with 2 HP left. And then I go to the other Jennifer to roll, which is a 5, and 5 is draw a card. And then we enter my end phase again, which is just rotate the cards I've used and reset my mana to 0. And now I pass to my opponent to take their turn. So once my opponent's taken their turn, they pass back to me. I then turn all my cards back so I can use them again. Enter the main phase, which is I get to draw 1 card. And then I can decide if I want to put a card into the mana zone. But because my grounded unit's full up and I can't afford any mana to summon a ranged unit at the moment, I'm not going to put any cards into the mana zone because at the end of the turn my mana will be reset, and if I haven't used it, it would have been a waste of mana and a waste of a card. So I'm not going to put any cards into the mana this turn. So I'm going to roll for Jacob, which is a 6. And a 6 is always the balancing skill on the cards, which is discard this card. So my poor Jacob now goes into the realm of balance. And now I roll for Pamela, which is a 4, which is draw a card. I roll for Jennifer, which is a 5, which is draw a card. I roll for Jennifer, the other Jennifer, which is a 2, which is an attack. So again, because their white has the most damage so far, I attack their white again. So it'll be my power level of 3 against their power level of 2, which means there'll be 1 difference in damage done to white again, leaving white 1 HP left. And then I go to my end phase, rotate the cards. I didn't have any mana, but if I did, I'd have to reset my mana. So rotate your cards, reset your mana, and end your turn. Pass to my opponent for them to take their turn. Then it'll come back to me, rotate my cards back so I can use them again. Enter the main phase of my turn, which is draw a card. And now I've got more cards, so I do want to do a tribute this time, and I've got the space. So I'm going to turn Ebony into mana, so 6 mana she's worth, and that gives me 6. I'm also going to turn Lynn into mana, she's worth 3. So that's 9 mana I can spend. Now I can actually bring out my ranged unit, which will give me an extra line of defense, which is Connor, for 5, which will leave me 4 mana. And another cool thing is I actually got 2 cards that require no mana to be summoned. So if you look at Kyria, her red crystal says 0, that means she requires no mana to be summoned. So that's technically a free summon. So I summon my Kyria. She's a grounded unit, so she goes into the grounded area. And I still got my mana, which I have left over. But I can't do anything else because the grounded unit is all full up. So now I get to roll. So I get to roll for Kyria, which is a 2, which is an attack on Kyria. But if my opponent's only got Wyatt on their field, it's going to be classed as a draw because their power levels are the same. So my Kyria is a 2 and their Wyatt is a 2, so no damage is done. So I roll for Pamela, which is a 4. 4 is draw a card. Then I roll for Jennifer, which is a 2, which is an attack. So now I get to again attack Wyatt. Power level again, 3 to the 2 is the difference of 1. White only had 1 HP left, so now he's been beaten in battle by the difference from this battle. So he's got 0 health left, which means he gets removed from my opponent's field into their realm of balance. Now I get to roll for the other Jennifer, which is a 5, which is draw a card. And the last one to roll for, which is Connor, which is a 6. So sadly, on Connor, a 6, like all the other cards, to keep it fair, is discard this card. So it goes into my realm of balance. Now that I've rolled for all my cards, I go to my end phase, which is I rotate my cards that I've used. And reset my mana, and then I pass to my opponent. Once my opponent's finished taking their turn, they pass back to me for my turn. So again, I rotate my cards back. And then I go back to my main phase, which is draw 1 card. I'm not going to put any into the mana zone because again, I've got my grounded full up and I've got no ranged in my hand. So I'm just going to roll for the cards I've got. So for Kyria, which is a 2. So for the purpose of this video, I'm going to act like there's no cards on my opponent's field, like I've wiped all their cards out. And that is when you can do a direct attack to your opponent's life once they've got no cards remaining on the field, like you saw me defeat Wyatt. So now they've got no cards protecting their life. So because Kira's roll was a 2 and her power level is 2, 2 points come off my opponent's life. So now I roll for Pamela, which is a 2, so that's another direct hit to my opponent. So that's Pamela with 5 power level hitting my opponent's life points, so that's 5 points coming off their life. I roll for Jennifer, which is a 4, which is draw a card. And I roll for my other Jennifer, which is a 2, which is another attack. So Jennifer's power level, same thing, would come off my opponent's life, which is 3. And that's how to play my game. Once a player has 0 life remaining, they have lost the game. That's basically how to play my homemade trading card game, Ellumacent Souls Legends TCG. If you want to pick up my game, it is on the Game Crafter. I will leave a link in the description box below. Thank you to everyone who supported me on my journey. Thank you so much. Set 2 is on the way. I'm just waiting for that to come from the Game Crafter, and then I'll show you set 2 cards. But set 1 is available on the Game Crafter. And as I say, I will leave a link to my game in the description box below. Other than that, guys, that's it for this video. If there's anything you didn't quite understand, leave a comment in the comment section below. But other than that, guys, have a wonderful, wonderful day, and hopefully I'll catch you in the next one. Goodbye, guys.